begin with so that people can understand who La Redoute actually is, and then we'll go into the interview after that.
We are La Redoute, and we are entrepreneurs. It flows in our veins. We have it in our genes. We are pioneers, innovators. From the wooden mills to the mythical catalogue, symbol of fashion broadcasted to far and wide, through our fashion and homeware e-retailer positioning and the 50,000 packages we send each day. We are La Redoute, and we are the French style. We are this je ne sais quoi that makes France the capital of good taste, style and fashion. We are the French style, we breathe it, we make it, we spread it each and every day. We are in turns Yves Saint Laurent, Inès de la Fressange, as well as Jacques Mus or Saint Baron. We are the French style, but we refuse to confine it, to standardize it, to limit it to a minority. Because we believe that everyone is entitled to beauty. Because we believe that beauty should not be expensive. Because we believe that beauty contributes to happiness. We are La Redoute, and we want to always contribute more to women and men's happiness all over the world. Thanks to the products we conceive, their design and quality. Thanks to the kind thoughts brought with them. Thanks to the services we deliver that prove how much we understand our clients and what they wish for and desire. We are La Redoute, and we are partners, determined to change the course of things, to perpetually reinvent ourselves, and to give our customers all over the world reasons to prefer us always a little more. Because we all have a reason to love La Redoute.
You've come on quite an interesting journey over a few years, haven't you? From distance selling has always been in the blood.
Correct. So as a brand, La Redoute is now 180 years old. Quite an old established brand. Started off in France, woolen mills, then started selling wool directly to the consumer, then patterns to the consumer, then finished product to the consumer. 180 years ago as a starting point is quite a long legacy. Mail order became part of that legacy for La Redoute. And over the last circa 5 years especially, we've really tried to do a lot of work to transform ourselves from a traditional mail order company into a leading digital retailer, both fashion and homes, both in France and internationally.
But actually, you're still a distance seller at heart, aren't you?
Oh, yes.
The categories, it's just more.
Correct. Yeah, we're a distance seller at heart, and for me, e-commerce is still distance selling, but in a different guise. So the catalogue that we have today is a very, very small portion of our sales and a very small portion of our marketing mix too. But it is in that legacy that we still have as a company.
And how important is that legacy to how you view new markets and expansion opportunities? Because obviously you've traded across a number of European states for quite a while. So.
Yeah, so it's probably worth me explaining the way that we do international, especially for the group of people that are here today. So we have 3 core models for international. One of those is subsidiaries. So that's a local presence in markets like UK, Belgium, Spain, Portugal, Sweden, Norway, Russia, Switzerland, Belgium. So we have a number of markets where we have a local presence, a local team, so that's marketing team, CEO, finance director, and they are doing all of their offer from France, however, all of the marketing locally. So they're driving traffic to the sites, they're driving the conversion on that site from a local perspective. So that's everything that we do from a subsidiary point of view. The next thing that we have is franchises. So we have franchises in around 14 different countries, and these franchises is a B2B relationship. And that spans from places in Africa like Senegal, Ivory Coast, Tunisia, Morocco, Lebanon, which is the Middle East, right across to places like South Korea and China. So we have a various degree of franchises across these different geographies. Then the other part we have is cross-border. Sorry to interrupt, this cross-border is our third one. In cross-border we run directly out of France. We have a .com site, we have a .it for Italy and a .pl for Poland. But that's all managed directly from France. And .com is shipping worldwide. However, if a customer comes from a particular market, whether it be UK, Belgium, or from a franchisee market, we would try to direct them to those particular businesses, mainly due to the fact that those businesses could give them a local service rather than us giving them a probably slightly worse service, dispatching directly from France to the customer, so a longer lead time for them to get their products. So 3 core ways: subsidiaries, franchises, and a .com cross-border.
And does that in itself cause you some challenges in that you have certain degrees of control with certain partnerships and not with others? So how do you use those relationships to get the core brand messaging through, allowing for those local interpretations?
Yeah, so we have brand guidelines as a total brand in terms of how the brand can be communicated, what we're doing in terms of the marketing, and the messages that we want to portray to our customers. essentially our customer is a lady, they are aged approximately 30 to 50 years old. Usually they have children, and our core proposition is women's wear, and then we also have homes, kids, men's, so a varying degree of that. But we have brand guidelines that all of our different franchisees need to adhere to, as well as our subsidiaries in all the different markets that we're in.
And are you noticing any difference in the way that your customers are contacting or getting in touch with the brand, not just from buying the product itself, but also in the customer service piece, and how do you overlay that into that potentially complicated structure?
Yeah, so in terms of customer care, in all of the different markets that we tend to have localized customer care. So it's a key part of our proposition. We want to, as you heard on the video, make our customers happy, and part of that is the customer experience that they will have pre-order, post-order, and that customer care journey is really important to us. So depending on the market, if it's a subsidiary, it could be internalized customer care. If it's a franchisee, it could be externalized customer care. So we do the two different versions of customer service depending on the area. Again, the way that we interact with customers can differ. So some people want to phone and have a discussion with you, others want to do live chat, others want to do WhatsApp in certain markets. So we've got varying degrees of how people are contacting us and having that relationship with the brand. I heard one of the speakers earlier on Russia with the try-on service. We offer the same service in Russia, and there is the courier that has quite a strong relationship with the customer, because it's usually the same couriers delivering to the same customers, waiting the same 15 minutes for them to try on the merchandise. So again, you have a slightly different relationship there versus what you could have in some of the other geographies.
And potentially an interesting business model to try and recreate that into that marketplace.
Yeah, it's quite a difficult one in terms of doing the try-on service. Obviously, you get quite a lot of refusal rates coming through for customers no longer wanting it. But again, that's part of the service that we have to customers. We are really there to make sure that our customers are happy at the end, because happy customers will spend more money with us globally afterwards. So it's really important that we continue that throughout the time that they are trading with us.
In that particular context, actually, is one of the benefits that you get that stock back into inventory really quickly, so you can sell it to someone else.
Correct, we do get the stock back quickly. So the key piece of work that we're working on at the moment is that when a customer does refuse an item or returns it to a courier, is how we then get that integrated into stock more quickly, number one. But number two, from an IT perspective, make it available to customers to buy, despite the fact that it's not in our warehouse yet. So we know it's coming back, we know which items are coming back, the size, the color. So from that, we can then make it available to customers to purchase the item. As soon as it comes back in, it goes back out again. So again, these are parts of the ways of ensuring that we give that great customer experience and maximise the stock potential that we have.
And there must be a degree of erring on the side of caution in that model that you're describing there, because you don't want to disappoint the customer. You've got a delivery promise.
Correct. We have a delivery promise in terms of that. And again, in Russia, it's a slightly different market because the delivery promise is quite a long period of time in consideration to the fact that there's 9,000 kilometers east to west, so you have lots of different zones in terms of Russia. And also, if we don't have an item locally in the warehouse in Russia, then the item will come from France into Russia. That goes on road freight, so it does take quite a while to get there. But again, all of this is clearly communicated to the customer at the point of order.
There probably aren't many key markets that you're not already involved in. If you were looking at a new market you don't currently have any engagement with, what is the process around deciding whether you do it direct yourselves, whether you get a wholesaler relationship or a JV? What sort of processes do you go through to get to that decision?
So we've done quite a big piece of work, and personally I did it myself, to be honest, which is a portfolio review of 36 countries around the world, and to say which ones of those should we be doing with a local presence, which should we be doing cross-border, and which should we be looking to do something in terms of a joint venture or franchisee. The main things for franchisees and joint ventures is areas that are more complicated. So it's areas where there is the complexity of tax, of legal, of customs. So there's different elements there that we would consider, are we willing to invest all of that money to test the market or not? Some of the other ways that we've tested markets, and I've heard again some of the speakers earlier, is through what we call reverse marketplaces, because we have our own marketplace where vendors can sell on Redoute, but we also operate on reverse marketplaces, which is other people's marketplaces where we put our products, and that's another good way of testing the different markets to see if there's an attraction towards the brands and the products that we're selling. The key thing there that's a little bit complex, you don't own the customer, so if you find that's a great success and it's growing and booming, and then you want to start your own site on the side, you have to rebuild it a lot more, because obviously you don't have that customer being transferred across, it's not yours.
So it's about how you build the brand as well as how you build the operational side.
Correct.
Do you have any questions for Michael before I hobble the conversation?
I'm more than welcome to take questions, guys, so don't worry, this is for your benefit, not mine, so.
I think everyone's still digesting.
Yeah, I'm sure they are.
None at the moment. Okay, so if we look at the customer side of the equation, how are you investing in different countries at the moment and getting in front of the customer, providing that customer service? You already talked about how you do that on a local basis. How do you actually propagate some of that out centrally? Do you get feedback from some of your partners to understand what works and what doesn't work in those different countries?
Yeah, so I'm not going to answer the question exactly as you've answered it, but I'll give you my thoughts in terms of customers. So the key element that we're trying to do for the customer is make it as simple as possible in every step of their journey. A key question that I pose to the different teams that we have both centrally and in the local subsidiaries is when a customer comes on the site, why are they there? And if we can try to, through all of the different machine learning that we have, big data, etc., understand why they're on the site, we can then limit the number of steps that they have to go through on the site to complete the either transaction and purchase that they're doing, or making a payment or arranging a return. So it's really considering those factors when a customer lands on the website. So we're doing a lot of work at the moment on what we would call personalization, but it's not just personalization for selling, it's also personalization for customer care in order to ensure that that customer has a real seamless journey. So we do most of that centrally. The web platform that we use is an in-house web platform. From that, we then propagate that across all the different countries that we have. We don't do it with franchisees and partners, so we don't currently share the web platform with them. But in terms of the key thing that we have there is the economies of scale and the fact that we can develop something once and spread it across various geographies at the same time. So it gives us a big benefit in that side of things.
And your local partners, if they're hosting their own web platforms, etc., are they still guided by your brand book, as it were? So actually, if a customer happens across their website or your website, actually they're indistinguishable, or have they got more latitude to do things differently?
They have some more latitude to do things differently because it's their business and it's their money. So we're not doing joint ventures currently. All of the ones that we're doing is franchisees, so it's their own money that they're investing in terms of platform. What we do provide to them, depending on who that partner is the expertise of e-tailing. So whether it's the reporting that you would expect, how you should merchandise your websites, the developments that we are making, the product enhancements we're doing, the customer service initiatives that we're doing. So each season we'll go through and share with them, these are the key things that are happening this season. We do visits to all of the different franchisees that we have, usually at least once per season, so once every 6 months. And again, there's that way of really growing that relationship and providing them the expertise that they might not otherwise have as a result of their size, linked to the fact that we are a much bigger entity in total.
And thinking about you as a brand, obviously there's it's a central out view of this is who we are and pushing that out to your partners. How do you take into account changing local requirements, and how does that, do you allow for the brand to evolve? And where do you get those different pieces of insight from? I'm just thinking about, it's easy when you are a domestic business, this is what I mean to my customer. Well, actually, that might not necessarily translate to different markets. Are you expecting people to buy into what La Redoute is now, or how do you look to evolve La Redoute as a brand?
Yeah, so again, we're working very closely with all of the different franchisees. We call them partners, so all of the different partners that we have. Again, explaining where we're going as a brand and the key things that we're trying to evolve into. And then with all the different visits that we're doing to these, we can get insights about what might be working really well in their own market. Last week, for example, I was in Lebanon, and it was a fantastic experience to see some of the more one-to-one interaction that they are doing with their customers, which was, I say, even more personal than the interaction that we're doing with ours at a global scale. Obviously, theirs is a much smaller business, and they are much more intimate with their customers than what we are. So they will phone up a customer after the order, they will check the item that they've ordered, they'll even ask the customer if they would you like us to go on your Facebook, Instagram, etc., and see whether this product is going to suit you. So they go to a much further degree than what we would do in a much bigger business. And from that, things like the returns rates are 2%. That's hardly anything in comparison to what we see in the other mature markets that we're in. So again, from these, we then take learnings on, well, maybe there's elements of this that we should be actually listening to also in relation to what our franchisees are doing. And take that, either share it with all the franchisees and or share it across the entire group. But globally, we try and give some levels of independence, but the key thing that they need to adhere to, as you were touching on, was the brand book that we have in terms of the way that the brand is communicated and the fact that we are there to provide great customer service.
And what comes across really strongly from your video is you're a French brand about French style, and that's what customers are buying into in the first place.
Correct. You know, French style is in our DNA and our heritage. So we are rarely using that as a unique selling point when it comes to our proposition to customers, both on the fashion side but also on the home side in offering that. In terms of the strategic elements that we have internally, I've touched on customer service a lot, but you know, I set out a very simple, what I call the 3F strategy for La Redoute International approximately 4 years ago, which was that we need to promote French style, and that's fashion and homes. We need to have fantastic service, and that service element is from the start of when you go on the site right through to receiving your goods and returning them if you have to do so. And we need to be ensuring we have a fair price policy. So, you know, French style, fair pricing, fantastic service. It's not uber complicated, but all of the actions we take have to be lined up with that initiative across the different parts of the group.
Actually, does the product mix that you're saying homewares and you're saying fashion, are you selling to the same customer in those different territories, or are they different customers?
So again, it depends on the different countries. So we have all the different types of segments, customer analysis, depending on the customer bases. On the fashion and home side, a customer who's buying into both categories is obviously more loyal. They buy more with us and we get a higher wallet share. The customer who's only buying furniture side of things usually has a higher basket value but less repeat purchasing. You don't buy sofas every day. And a customer who's only buying on the fashion offer, again, you look at different elements there about what they're buying women's wear and children's wear and men's wear and lingerie and shoes. Are they just single category buyers? So we look at a lot of different ways of analysing our customers. But globally, by country, it does differ. So we do notice things that, for example, in Spain, customers who are coming into the brand, the best ones are ones who are buying children's wear, actually. So that's a really good entry point for the Spanish market, is to get somebody in on children's wear. Then they usually move from there onto women's wear, and then they move on to homes. So we can look at that customer journey and we can try and ensure that we are guiding them on the correct path. And we do a lot of that through things like triggers. So we look at the customer behaviour to see where we should trigger them into a certain particular behaviour if they start to veer off track.
That actually brings me to an interesting point around data and insight and analysis. As a business, how much data do you get from your partners? How well do you know their customers?
In terms of the partners, the data, the customer base itself generally would still be our customer database at the end as part of the relationship that we would set up with them. In terms of analysing that database, it is theirs to analyse into market and to decide how they would like to spend their marketing expenditure. So we're not really analysing their database in details. For some of them, they will come to us and ask questions about what are we doing in terms of the different clusters or segments or one-to-one personalisation. And we are more than happy to help them, because obviously the key thing here is to grow that partnership with our different franchisees. But it's not an area that we really are actively looking at all of their databases and consolidating them centrally. We do that with our own subsidiaries that we have. We do it with our cross-border business and we do it with French business, but not with our franchisees.
And touching on your cross-border business, are you actively looking to increase that, or is it an incidental sort of side effect of having some partnerships in some countries and not in others?
No, we definitely want to increase our cross-border business. So it's a key area of growth, and to be honest, I think it's the one that probably exhibits some of the biggest growth opportunity that we have for international. So cross-border today, we have the dedicated URL for Poland, Italy, and then we have .com, which is servicing the rest of Europe, America, Latin America, Asia, Australasia, etc. So there's a lot of different geographies that are being covered by that .com site. And the key area there that we're looking at is what are we doing with the different payment options, the delivery options, the different account creation options, languages, currencies. So it's really how do we expand those out to have the right numbers of possibilities for customers so that they are able to order through that and feel that they are still operating in a more local state to buy cross-border. That's a key area in terms of doing that.
And at what point do you, looking at that cross-border piece, at what point do you then make a decision and say, well, actually, we've now got a certain volume that makes it more sense to have a more local?
So similar to what I've just said earlier on Poland and Italy, so you get to a point where you get enough critical mass, and from that you can dedicate a separate URL to it. The separate URL comes more complexity because now you have a new content management system for it. You've got to have I wouldn't say a big team of people, but a smallish team of people who are driving traffic to that site, who are doing the merchandising and e-store management on that site, in order to ensure that we get the uplift in conversion to justify the cost of that team behind it. We have found that is possible to do even on quite a small value in certain markets like Poland and Italy that we are in today. But it's a way of then again customizing the site to be very much more local than .com. You don't have to select your language, you don't have to select your currency. You don't have to worry about the different payments and delivery options because all of that is standardized to that particular market.
Any questions at all? Is anyone? Yes, please. Is Max around the microphone? Can I ask you to project, sir?
Hello there. So I have a question related to the content. So you said that obviously different markets require different levels of information for localization purposes, etc. So the more countries you cover, the more different marketplaces you cover, sites, etc., the more content you have. Now, how do you manage all that content? So do you have a centralized system like PIM? Do you manage it through your e-commerce platform or through the ERP system? What's the kind of setup?
Yeah, so we have a content bank, or what we call our media bank, for all of the different content that we create. We don't store into that content the things that our franchisees create. So again, the franchisees tend to be quite small businesses and they are running independently, following the guidelines that we have. But anything that's done with our subsidiaries, head office in France, and then also done through our cross-border business, is all saved in what we call our media bank. And that media bank contains the content of both the products, any marketing promotions, anything that we've done on our blogs. And then we also have the translation piece sitting in there, where we translate all of the things with some memory too, in order to ensure that we minimize the efforts that we have for translation. But that's all in-house and it's on our own platform. Again, something to bear in mind is the fact that Redoute has been going for such a long period of time, so we have a lot of legacy, and it's more recent that you have all of the different companies providing these services as off-the-shelf propositions. So most times we've actually created these elements internally and then grown them organically from there.
Anyone else? More questions? No? Okay.
It'll be me
Oh
again.
yes, sorry.
Okay. I'll bring the microphone over.
You can still ask your question if you
Like
want.
the
Don't
door.
worry.
I've got another question afterwards then. Who was it here? Hello.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi there, Mick from Focusrite. You mentioned fantastic service, one of your 3Fs, and you mentioned customer service initiatives that you share with your franchisees. Could you share with us what some of those are?
Yeah. So in terms of the service element, obviously we're offering free delivery options in all the different markets that we have. We have free returns options in the different markets that we have. It differs by market, so sometimes it will be a minimum order value, sometimes it will be home, sometimes it will be a parcel shop in terms of where you have to be delivered to have that free option. We've also invested a number of millions of euros in a new logistics plant that's currently being ramped up at the moment. And that new logistics plant will enable us to be able to pick, pack and dispatch items within 2 hours of order. So that's currently being ramped up right now. That's a big challenge for us as a business, obviously making a big change in terms of our logistics infrastructure. But that will give us a key advantage in the future in terms of speed of delivery. Then we have the customer service teams themselves, so that's again localized customer service in order to ensure that we give a really good service there. And we do try to minimize any problems for the customer should they have any within that customer service piece. So it's really making sure that that customer goes away happy is a key objective that we have within customer service, rather than to minimize the cost of customer service. It's really an add-on value rather than a cost center for us. From a web perspective, I touched on it earlier, but it's really what we're doing from a personalization point of view there, making it really seamless for the customer, as few a number of steps as possible when they go on the website. Things like artificial intelligence, we're also looking into that currently to provide customer service artificial intelligence. And then we're looking at personal shopping artificial intelligence also. Those have not yet been rolled out, those are currently in the R&D phases today.
And are you looking at sort of chatbot technology to integrate?
Correct. So we're looking at chatbots.
Customer.
Yeah. So the customer can type in questions in natural language, and from that we will then answer the questions. And it could be, "Where's my parcel?" Or we then say, "Which parcel do you want?" So that particular parcel. So that's the more straightforward ones that we're looking at currently, and then we're looking at how we will enhance that to make it even more detailed in terms of the way that the customer can interact with
So
us.
potentially heading down towards the sort of like personal shopper type experience.
Correct. So, and we see them as two slightly different experiences. One which is post-sales experience, where customers can ask questions, want to make a payment, want to do a return, like to see their statements, etc. So that piece being one element. And then another one which is far more about, I want to buy a product. Okay, which product you want to buy, which style, which item, which category, which size, which colours. So we're really seeing them, although you could do them in the same, we're seeing them as two different interactions with the customer on the site.
I guess the dangerous or the challenge is actually making it seem natural to the customer.
Correct. We do need to make it seem natural, so it's a key part, and we need to be giving them relevant information, because the worst thing you can do is provide them information that doesn't add any value to them as a customer and then end up having to phone us. So again, that's a key piece that we are looking to make sure that what we provide them is value added to them. And that puts a lot of pressure, not on the front end where you're actually doing all of this. The technology to show these things is quite straightforward. The difficulty is having all the back end infrastructure that has all of the order tracking and the status and the steps and when you're going to receive it, and it's going to be on Tuesday at 2 p.m. That's where the more challenging piece comes, so that we can feed that into the front office and then just display it to the customer. So it's really doing a lot more work on the back end than the front end, which a lot of people see this lovely interface and it's a chatbot, but the chatbot is not as complicated as it really seems. It's more the information in the back office that it will have.
You've already alluded to it's legacy.
Yes, and obviously there's legacy, but we've been doing a transformation of our IT platform now for circa 3 years. So we are going through a number of different steps and taking out different blocks of our IT platform and then enhancing those or bringing in new technologies in order to bring it back to market.
It's potentially a project that never ends because there's always
I
something.
don't think the project will ever end, and I've heard these things before where people say, we're writing a new chapter. I think you're always writing a new chapter, whether it's about your product, your IT, your service. You have to be continually writing new chapters and keep evolving as an organisation and a business. If you stand still, you're going to get overtaken.
And you've already touched on one as well, the big investment in the fulfilment.
Yeah.
Are you fulfilling everything for all of the partners centrally, or?
Yeah, so the way that we've built a 42,000 square meters warehouse within France, very near to where our old fulfilment park was. The reason we've done this is that the old one had grown organically over a vast number of years, decades, and it became to a point where we weren't able to pick, pack, and dispatch quickly enough. So it was taking between 24 to 48 hours to pick, pack, and dispatch an order. And today people expect things same day, never mind next day even. So with this technology, we wanted to put it all into one warehouse to ensure that we could do everything in an automated way, and to do that within a 2-hour frame, a window frame for customers ordering to get things out. So, and then in terms of that warehouse, that is serving all customers on a B2C basis, so it goes direct to consumer. We do B2C ordering for France, Switzerland, Belgium, and then the cross-border business is fulfilled directly from France. And then we have what we call spokes, so we have spoke warehouses that are in places like UK, Russia, Sweden, and Portugal. Sorry, I forgot one there. So those spokes are then fed directly from the hub. We have algorithms that we run every single day which anticipate which items we need to hold in the spoke based on previous demand and upcoming promotions. So we try and then maximize the stock that we hold locally within the spoke, so that when a customer does order an item, for example, in Portugal, we have the item available locally and we can dispatch it to them at a very short lead time. If we don't have the item available locally, we have to go from France to Portugal, Portugal to customer, and that builds in an extra time for delivery.
And actually, I also illustrating additional levels of complexity when you decide to go into a new territory.
Correct. I mean, if we're going into new territories, I would not be looking to set up a separate spoken warehouse from day one, and that's a step that you do much further down the line when you've got enough volume and scale, because otherwise you're putting so many SKUs locally, and the stock that you're spreading and the inefficiency of that stock and overstock risk is too high. So the key thing there is to dispatch directly from the hub to the customer. And for that, we're using some of the big carriers, people like DHL, UPS, in order to have that speed of delivery to the customer.
Well, Michael, I'm afraid we're out of time.
Okay?
It was a pleasure.
No problem. Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you.